All right, hello everybody. It's that time again. We're doing volume 4 of the community call, and this is Ben York. I am the marketing VP here at the Woo Network. I'm with Julia.
Hi,
over here
everyone.
To my right.
Hi.
Yeah. This is the first time that we're going under the Woo Network after the name change, so very exciting, a lot of developments to have. And I think the most exciting thing that we have today is that our co-CEO, Jack Tan, will be joining us very shortly. I think the format today is going to be a little bit different because what we've experienced in previous calls has been that people are a bit timid in the early stages of the call, so we end up kind of treading water and coming up with things to say. So we're going to start this time by me just asking Jack a few questions in more of a podcast format, and then once we get warmed up, we'll open it up for everybody who has calls or questions or feedback, and I'm sure there's a lot. It's also important that we remind people that the purpose is not just for you to listen to us lecture about how great Woo Network is. We also want feedback, comments, suggestions on how we can improve, because that's the point of having a town hall. So the question is, has anyone seen Jack yet? Have we found him yet? He says he's on. Jack, if you can hear me, please send me a request to join the stage. The good news is we have quite a few people listening, so that is making it harder to find Jack, but at least it means there's an audience. Requests. All right, well, we have a request from someone else. I guess we can start there. To speak. All right, we've got Jack. Hello, Jack. Can you hear us? Jack, you're on mute. You're going to have to turn that.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hello, Jack. Can you hear us? Wonderful. We can.
Okay, great.
All right, Jack, thank you for joining us. How does it feel to be on the first community call? All right, I think what we should
It feels
start with,
great.
because okay, I think we should start with just like a quick introduction, because people have heard me and Rand talk a lot. We're very visible and vocal, but some of the stuff that you're doing is very, very important to the company, and I think a lot of people would love to know a little bit more. So if you can just give them some quick details about who you are and how we got here, I think that would be a great way to start.
Sure. I don't know how far back to go, but I was a first generation immigrant, chasing the American dream, I guess. I loved trading as a kid, because it somehow allowed me to participate on a global stage. And if you can pick the winners from the losers, it made me feel like, I mattered, right? So I started trading at age 14, and I went on to Wall Street after university for about 2 years. And very quickly, I knew it wasn't really for me. But, I realized that what drove me wasn't really the money. I wanted to make a real impact, and it wasn't going to happen for me at this huge corporation. But, having spent a lot of what my parents earned on my education, I reluctantly stayed about 10 years in traditional finance. Luckily for me, I discovered Bitcoin around 2014 when Mt. Gox collapsed. So as a trader, I realized very quickly that this exchange collapsing didn't have anything to do with Bitcoin's fundamental story, and that kind of got me into this whole thing. And I didn't really look into the technology or what we could do with smart contracts until like 2017, like super late 2017, 2018. Kind of, so that's how I got into crypto. Um, and at Woot Network, I'm mostly in charge of building the product with the team, making sure that the user experience is delightful, and coming up with new features and new products that can empower our users to achieve their goals more efficiently.
Awesome. Jack, I got to ask because at 14, I was running around playing all kinds of sports and not doing much with my life. How do you get into trading at 14?
Well, I think coming from a country without any opportunity, 90s, right? Like I came from China, and back then China was a very different country. And so in the US, the financial markets represented this way of gaining financial freedom. And my parents kind of got into stocks. My father was working for a software company, and he was distributed some shares, and all of a sudden they start arguing. It was very attractive to me. And I spent my summer basically just watching CNBC and Jim Cramer, right? A very animated guy, and I didn't learn much from him, but I certainly enjoyed getting to know the market and know the people on TV, and how everything kind of worked from a retail perspective.
All right, great. I think we should jump ahead to today now because that's what everyone's here for. You started the Woo Network with Mark. Maybe you could describe your vision a little bit for what we were building here.
Actually, when I started Kronos Research with Mark, the whole idea was to create a solution where people could invest and trade with much better results. Um, and Kronos Research was kind of like the first piece in this whole puzzle. And it was our way of showing that, look, we could do something well, right? And that being trading. I think we've proven that to some extent. And we realized that to really affect the end user's experience, we would have to kind of make products and features and services for the whole vertical as opposed to just providing liquidity to other way, basically to deliver really good trading strategies and experience to the masses. And Woo Network is basically like a rabbit hole, right? Like at first we just wanted to um, kind of touch retail and touch the end users to give them a better experience, and then it's like, oh, we need to do better marketing, we need to do better customer service, we need to add NFTs, we need to add futures, and it's just like a really deep rabbit hole that we're going down right now.
Right, and you touched a little bit on Kronos Research. There might be some people listening who don't really realize much about Kronos Research, but you mentioned that they've essentially proven themselves. Is there anything about Kronos Research that you could share that you're particularly proud to have accomplished?
Well, I think when we first started out in Taiwan, the high frequency trading and quantitative trading space wasn't really that popular. If you go to the top universities and ask the engineering students or math students like what they wanted to do with their lives, they would answer like go to Microsoft or Google or whatever, right? But now they would, some of them would say quant trading, or the crypto space, right? So I'm really proud that they have a different path forward for these talented youth. Another thing that I'm quite proud of is having all of these talented people work on kind of one unified goal, and that's allowed us to kind of become one of the top market makers and traders by volume in this market. And
Okay. Uh, one more thing about, like, in the past week, we just celebrated the launch of WEX, the official launch, and we released a mobile app. And on that day, you spoke a little bit internally. But I think it'd be cool, since we have everyone from the community on the line, if maybe you shared a little bit about the feelings or the meaning of what you said to everyone here.
sure. So I guess on that day, it was a day of celebration, and people worked their ass off basically to get this thing launched. And it was basically recognizing their efforts, and also kind of you know telling people that, like, this is it. We have gone down the path of retail, right? From a purely B2B liquidity pool, to starting to onboard uh, end users directly. And I think that's a very important shift in the whole mentality. And I wanted the whole team to really understand that. And that, along with that, comes like this obsession with servicing our users correctly and providing the best customer service whenever possible.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Well, just to reset, we're in the middle of our fourth community call. I see that quite a few people have joined. We're over 100 listeners now, so pretty happy with that. I guess they all turned out to hear you speak, Jack. We're going to continue with a few questions directly for Jack, and then we're going to open it up to the audience here and see what kind of questions you can throw at us. So let me just ask a few more, because I know there are a lot of people here. I'll just save you some time, who are going to ask about compliance, right? Because we've taken a very direct route on compliance, and obviously we're not hiding that, and we're very, it's going to be a very important part for us going forward. So maybe Jack, you could frame this a little bit, like what our strategy is with regards to compliance and why we're doing that.
Okay. Yeah. So, like I said, I've been in this space for some time, and you know, I guess from like 2014 ish to 2020 even, the regulation was super loose because I think governments didn't really uh, put this space on their radar, right? Because it was so small, and it was growing fast, but they didn't really care, right? Until recently, there's been global adoption. The institutions are coming in, and along with that, I think the institutions are are pushing the governments to put regulation in, so that they have some safeguards for their clients. And along with that, it means that the days of just offering crazy leverage derivatives to a global user base is over. And so, you have to be much more careful what kind of products you offer and where. We have a limited resources on legal, right? But we need to cover this global market, and each jurisdiction has its own set of rules. And so, like, we definitely want to keep expanding our user base and jurisdictions, but we have to do it in the right way now. And so this is why we're kind of taking this whitelist approach, right? And we're only offering services to jurisdictions, which is quite obvious. Like, we will not get into some sort of legal issue with the governments. And like, in parallel, we're trying to understand how to kind of communicate with the government and understand where the red lines are, right? So we don't cross them. But I think going forward,
All right.
um, for both centralized and decentralized platforms, the regulation will become even tighter.
All right. Yeah, I don't think that's the last we've heard of this topic. I'm sure there'll be some questions later for you and Ran also, who's joined. The CEO of Ran is also here. But I guess we can start with that and then go from there. How about let's talk a little bit about growth because that's a really important thing. We're very early stage now, which I think a lot of people here in the community like. They like being a part of something that is growing very quickly. But maybe you could talk a little bit about, how we plan to grow this into a global company.
Well, I think the wind is at our backs, right? Yes, government regulation is tighter because there's more adoption. And so, I think we've grown quite rapidly in an industry that's also growing rapidly. And this is how we've expanded to almost 70 people now. And our spot exchange is, I think, top 20s in the whole world already. And we haven't really started marketing. Uh, we're gearing up to release new products like futures and a much more mature version of WooX and mobile as well. Our core competency has always been in trading, right, and asset management, and so Woo Network naturally would attract some of the best traders and investors in the space. So social trading, asset management will also be one of our core product launches later this year into next year. So I'm really excited to see that. The NFT space has caught the attention of many, obviously, and we're actively looking at how to use NFTs in our network. And it's not, when we release something, it's not going to be a gimmick. It's really going to provide the value to the network and to the end users themselves. So, I've seen some plans that our team members launched. I'm sure you have as well, Ben. And, it's really exciting to see that. And, I'm really looking forward to how that turns out.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Before we turn it over to the audience, maybe you could talk a little bit about what you've been doing, the last couple of months, right? And then maybe even touch on what your day-to-day responsibilities are and how that fits into what you've been doing, so that when we do turn it over, I guess people will be able to focus their questions or comments a little bit better.
Sure. So last couple of months, really just tying up the loose ends on the products for mobile, for WooX as well, taking feedback from the trading community, and kind of communicating this feedback internally to make sure that we filter and prioritize each little change or each little suggestion into this product launch, right? Like what else we need to do to improve this thing. Um, I've always in Europe to understand what the local markets are like, what the fiat channel kind of challenges are, and legal challenges. We're setting up a European base in Warsaw, and we're hiring for engineers and lawyers, blockchain engineers as well. That's for both Kronos and for WooTrade.
All right, excellent. Well, I think we can see if anyone has any questions. I know there's somebody who's already been invited up on stage. If anyone else has a question, they could put their hand up now, and I will invite them up. Jack, are you pleased with how things are going so far this year for the Woo Network?
My personality is such that I'm never pleased. I look back at what we've achieved, and it's really surprising to me how far we've gone. But I'm never pleased because I see all of the things that we could be doing better and faster. Um,
All right. Well, it looks like we have our first brave speaker, and I'm not surprised. It's Chris from our community. Um, Chris, you're live now with Jack, so go ahead and ask away.
Sorry. First of all, congratulations, you guys. What a year so far. I'd love to hear from Ran and Jack what they're most proud of this year. And my question was formulated before Jack just said he's never happy or proud. But and what they're most excited for in the next 6 months.
I think we can let Jack take that one.
Okay. So the question is what I'm most proud of in this year and what I'm looking forward to the most in the next 6 months.
Correct.
I guess, okay. I think I'm most proud of having kind of this decentralized team, right? And multiple offices, you know, people just contributing from the community and people we've actually hired really providing a lot of value to what we do. And I never thought that was possible, right? Like I came from a large bank, and we had very set hours, right? That a totally new world for me, and I'm really proud of having all of the team members really united and working towards this one goal. That's I'm also proud of like launching this desktop trading version, right, as well as the mobile in just 1 year, and having one of the best liquidity in the space. Looking forward, I'm really excited to use our asset management products and social trading features of at least that's the direction that we're going with. So I'm really excited to see that happen.
Thanks, Jack. Always good to hear from you. Super excited as well.
All right. Thank you, Chris. I think we can
Sure,
go to
thank you.
Michael next. Michael, you're up on stage. Fire away.
Hey, morning, everyone. So one of the things I kind of track just to see how things are going is the combined network volume on the Woo site, Woo network site. Um, I was tracking it just over 24 hours ago, and I think it was at 180 or 190,000, and now just it's at 364,000. So it seems like it's growing steadily as we move ahead, which is great. The question is. Of course, everybody was waiting for the Woo exchange to be launched on the 20th. Part of that, like we saw KuCoin partnership just announced the other day. My question is, like, with big exchanges like Huobi as a partner and KuCoin, um, when you implement your liquidity solution for those exchanges, are they automatically using, since you've gone live, all the dark pool for every coin that you offer, or are you kind of rolling out like saying, okay, let's start with the Woo token and we'll provide liquidity for that, but they're providing their own liquidity for other things, or how is that working? Do you understand what I'm asking? Is that clear or?
Oh, Jack, it looks like he cut out a little bit there, and he says he can't hear what the question was. But maybe I can repeat it now. And if Jack can't hear, maybe Rand can jump in as well. That with all the B2B clients, including ones like KuCoin and the other ones we've announced, are they using all the liquidity for all the tokens on their exchange, or sorry, on the Woo network at once, or is it like a gradual process? It looks like Jack is having some problems. Rand, maybe would you mind jumping in on this one? Because actually, this is more like on the BD side, which is where the business development side, which is where Rand that's his domain.
Yeah, I can take this one. Can you hear me
Yes.
okay?
Yep.
So each client is different, and I would say people start off slowly with something like a Litecoin maybe, and it'll be a one by one type of process. Once they get comfortable with our liquidity and obviously like the zero fees and such, they would link up more of their pairs. So it's not all of a sudden every single pair on their exchange is linked up to liquidity. It's kind of one by one. But for the ones who are very comfortable with our liquidity, every time we list a token, they would link up the liquidity. Some even list the token themselves.
Right. Okay.
So it kind of just depends.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that kind of explains why the volume has grown quite a bit now that you've officially gone live, and I would expect it would keep on growing at this rate. Okay. Thanks so much.
Yeah, and we're at I think we're at 340 million past 24 hours.
Yeah. I see 364 right now. So yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's also important to say that the markets fluctuate in terms of volumes quite a bit as well. So there will be a lot of volatility from day to day, rather than just a straight arrow upwards.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense.
Okay, I think if you don't mind, Michael, we'll go to the next question. It's from the Think Grid. You requested to join. Do you have anything for us?
Okay. Hey guys. Good morning. Good evening. Depending on where you're from. So, just a couple of simple questions. I'm not really sure if Jack or Ren is the best person for this. But number one is like in the long term, do you guys see yourself as catering more towards the retail side or more on the institutional side? And as well as, are you going to be more focusing on like the centralized finance or the DeFi side of things? So that's one. And then the other thing is, when I was doing research about Woo Network or Woo Trade, um, some people were like describing it as the Robinhood of crypto. And as you know, Robinhood hasn't exactly left a good impression for some people with the fiasco with GameStop and everything. So, do you think that's a fair comparison? And if it is something that has a sort of negative connotation that goes along with it, how do you guys plan to address that in the long term in terms of public perception? Yeah, thank you.
Looks like Jack's back. Jack, did you hear the question?
I think I heard whether or not we're focusing on retail or B2B, and then DeFi or CeFi, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And and then also like how do you address the reputational aspect of Woo in the sense that some people are seeing it as a Robin Hood of crypto and not in a good way. Yeah.
Sure. I can address the last one first, actually. I think Robinhood did a lot of good for the whole industry in the traditional side, right? Before Robinhood, there were no feeless exchanges, right? There were a lot of like discount brokers, but you were still paying like at least $5 or $7 per trade, and I think Schwab was something like $50 or something crazy like that per trade. So how you execute the payment for order flow business is really important, right? It's not all the same. It's kind of like saying crypto exchanges are bad, right? But you have to see what the crypto exchanges are doing, right? Like,
Right.
yeah. So that's kind of my point. Not all payment for order flow is bad. I think the concept actually works. It's just how you execute it is really important. How you police it is important. Getting back to your first question, retail or institutional, right? I think as an exchange, you have to service both. Whoever needs liquidity, you should be providing that to them at the best possible levels. And we have limited resources, and we're not going to get huge overnight, because then we can't really control the quality. And so
Right.
there are a lot of really strong players locally, right, that are starting exchanges, already have exchanges, and they already have their customer base. So all they need is probably better liquidity and better products, and if we can deliver that for them, we will. And then we also have this group of pretty active professional traders that really want our products, and
Right.
so we will deliver that as well to the best of our ability. CeFi or DeFi, like, these things will merge, in my opinion. You already see DYDX trading like a couple $1 billion a day,
Right.
and I think that'll continue to grow. Just because I think regulation is a bit more lax on decentralized things now, but eventually they'll start to tighten, and the DeFi CeFi space will start to resemble each other as technology improves and as regulation becomes more mature for both types of I guess trading venues. And maybe Rand can add to that. He is much more involved in the DeFi space.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Sure, thanks.
Yeah, I think Jack covered it pretty well. In terms of CeFi and DeFi, I think we're pretty agnostic. As Jack mentioned, we want to be where the traders are, right?
Right.
Whether they're on CeFi or DeFi, and as a percentage of total volume, it's likely that DeFi will gain market share,
Mm-hmm.
and we're kind of seeing that. And these are more, I think, primitive products currently, and we'll have much better products in the future as the industry grows, whether it's a swap or order book. And DYDX has done pretty well, and we will be anywhere that has traders on whichever chain. So we're very chain agnostic. We're just here to service the traders.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Do you mind if I could follow up with just one last question, like one final? That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. If
Okay. Yes, just real quick. So, are you guys threatened with the possibility of like having someone like Binance to basically try to do something similar to what you guys are doing on the liquidity side, instead of getting them on board, you get with Woo Network?
Rand, did you get that?
Yeah, Jack, do you want to answer that?
Sure.
Yeah, unmuted.
Yeah, I mean, what was the question? The question is if we're threatened by like someone like Binance doing what?
Yeah, is it going to be a concern? Is it a real concern for you guys for someone like Binance to come in and try to do what you guys are doing? I mean, they already have the networks. They have a wider base because they're much bigger. They're ahead. Or you don't see them doing something like this in the foreseeable future? Or if anything, they could actually join and onboard with you guys. What do you guys think?
I mean, we don't spend a lot of time talking about the competitors, to be honest. I've said that before, and if we look at what Binance is doing these days, it's more like handling all the regulation that's coming their way.
Right.
For us, it's 100% focus on who our target audience is, and what do they need and what do they want, and hopefully discovering things that even they didn't know themselves, and creating a value for this. That's how we spend our time. So I think, like, if we want to talk about the larger exchanges alike, they try to service everyone, right? From retail to HFT, to the active traders like manual traders, and that their needs are very different, right? But they try to go after everyone. And if you want to service HFT, you can't, like, you're basically getting all the retail there so that the HFT can trade against them to make money. And that's not really doing a service for the retail guys, right? And still charging retail guys fees, right? So for us, we segment very clearly. The volume that goes into Woo Network is all retail. We don't service the HFT guys. If you are HFT and you want to provide liquidity, that's a different situation. You can't really come in here and have very aggressive taking orders. So does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty comprehensive answer. Thank you. Thanks, Jack.
Sure.
Thank you for the question. I think we should go to Evolution now because he requested early on and I accidentally kicked him off there. But he's back up now. So if you have a question for us, Evolution, fire away.
Yeah, I just want to ask when we can expect the airdrop for the Wood network for the person who's staking on the platform.
Well, maybe I can take this one, even though it's not really in Jack or Ran or my own personal domain. Most of the airdrops are coming on the venture side, and right now they're finalizing some of the plans and working with the product team on how to distribute that. So we're expecting that to be finalized in September, so you won't have to wait much longer on that. And then another thing that we're doing that is kind of more on the marketing side is we're always trying to identify early stage products or projects. And some of those are coming on the actual venture side through the ventures team themselves, but others are just approaching us as a platform. They want their token listed. And so for platforms like that, we're also in a position where we can do marketing events with them and doing things like airdrops. So that's going to be even sooner. One of the projects that we're working with is Credo, and we don't have the details completely finalized, but there should be some good news for people coming very soon.
Okay, thank you. And now I just want to ask about the next exchanges. What is your plan? Because now we enjoyed the KuCoin, and you have some main goal to enjoy to the other platform like KuCoin, or now you stop it with this?
I don't know if Ran wants to talk about. Obviously, he can't say very much, but Ran, if you want to address that quickly.
Yeah, we can't talk about future listings for Woo, but we do want Woo to be listed on many venues and places where there's lots of users and deep liquidity. So I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, we can't say too much about listings.
All right, thank you. And thank you for the question, Evolution. We have quite a few people who've requested, so we're going to move on if you don't mind. The next one, David, good to hear from you. David from Nansen, go ahead and let us know what you want to ask or say.
Yeah, thanks guys for taking my questions, and huge supporter of the Woo team. Yeah, so I've got two questions. One sort of like when you guys are thinking about kind of like building out your product pipelines and growing the network in terms of like liquidity and volume, are there certain milestones that you guys have to say like, okay, by Q4 we want to achieve this much volume and this is what we consider a success? Or is it just kind of like, do you guys have milestones or goals kind of in place? And then also the second question is more on like the decentralized exchanges or the DeFi aspect of it is like, is Woo is the Woo network, is the liquidity kind of set up to kind of like be able to tap into the DeFi space? And are you guys going to do more with kind of like the layer 2 scaling solutions that are coming online on Ethereum?
Sure. How about I take the first part and Rand takes the second part on DeFi.
That sounds fair.
Yeah. Yeah, so we definitely have internal targets, although we cannot reveal the actual like targets what they are. this is how we think about it, right? We think of it as a total addressable market, and our total addressable market are, generally the more retail, the more click trading type of volume, as well as the slower algorithmic trading strategies, right? Like CTAs and maybe some arbitrage strategies that have holding periods over 30 minutes, at least over like 15 minutes. And so I think that market is probably somewhere between 30% to 40% of the total volume traded these days, because most of the volume traded is by HFT. And that's not the volume that we want to introduce in, because if that volume comes in, then our spreads will have to widen, and we probably cannot offer zero fee. So we definitely have internal targets for that, and but we cannot reveal what those targets are. That's just not. Yeah, so I'll just leave it there.
Ran, over to you. I think David's second part of his question was about DeFi and the liquidity.
Yes, so we're doing a number of things on DeFi. Currently, the Woo network is providing quite a bit of liquidity to DEXs, especially Dodo on BSC on Polygon. We've also provided liquidity for, we're linked up to Starkware. You can probably guess who the customer is on layer 2. So that's a layer 2. And then, when Arbitrum goes live, we'll be on there as well. So we're very much in pace with what's going on in DeFi in terms of layer 2s. So again, it's anywhere where there's traders, where there's likely to be traders. Where we aim to be there for DeFi. So, some of the newer protocols that are engaging their community, that are building DEXs, I think you can anticipate that the Woo network will be on those places as well. That's including like Avalanche, Solana. I think eventually we'll be on all these types of protocols, especially the EVM compatible ones.
Awesome. That's great to hear.
Right.
Yeah, thanks. That's super helpful.
All right, guys. We have 15 minutes left. I know that Ran and Jack both have a hard stop coming up at the top of the hour. So we're going to move on, David, but I really appreciate it, and we'll catch up soon. Thank you again for joining. Maybe we can go next to the Woo Insider. He's been up here for a while, and he's a very ardent supporter on Twitter, so definitely want to get him involved.
Hey, gents, it's good to hear from you all, and congrats for the launch. As you all know, I've been involved for quite a while, early supporter, and I was shocked and a bit hurt to see that residing in Germany currently, I'm not KYC compatible. And so I feel like, and I'm sure many people feel the same, we all feel a bit orphaned. We don't really know where to go. We don't know where to go to be involved in governance and airdrops and just to be involved in the community. So would you give us a hint as to where we should be putting all of our Woo, which we were happily staking and getting bonuses on Woo? Thanks.
Maybe Ran can take this one.
I see. Okay, so it's unfortunate that. Okay. Well, regarding KYC, honestly, like we have a newer KYC program that we've hinted on that's coming out on Friday. That's based on tiers, so it might resolve some of the issues that people have been facing in terms of KYC. But we are KYCing all users and trying to be as compliant as possible. And we'll ask for some patience with this, and our legal team is working actively to make sure that we comply with all the laws for different jurisdictions, and that we're not taking on users that we shouldn't be, or we're not, making sure we're not kicking off users that should be, that can be allowed on the platform. So please give us a bit of time with that, and we're figuring that out as fast as we can. In terms of where to stake your Wu tokens, WooX obviously has the program, and there's a bunch of venues that we do publicize on our community where you can stake tokens. Often it's in DeFi, and I think you can expect some sort of a DeFi staking from us coming in the future. But yeah, I think we've been very open about where you can stake Wu tokens currently, and all the information is essentially, we have a bot in our Telegram community that can activate, that can tell you all the places.
Or maybe a more direct question is, if you cannot KYC on the platform, will you then miss out on airdrops?
Currently, yes.
Ooh.
If you can't KYC on the platform.
All right, does that answer the question?
Unfortunately, it does. Thanks.
I think the airdrops are just like one part of the value that the community is going to be creating, the token ecosystem are going to be creating. So I mean, there's definitely going to be other options for people to collect value rather than just on CeFi staking, especially in like CeFi staking for passive yield. So I would definitely like echo Rand's words about giving a bit of time to come up with alternative solutions, and then obviously I want to understate and emphasize that this wasn't a decision that was made very lightly, and definitely we're very in touch with the community, and me myself obviously as an American, this is like a frustration that I'm very familiar with. So we're going to do everything that we can to make this more open to people, and yeah, I think that is the direction we want to head.
Cool, thanks.
All right, I think we can go to someone else. Looks like we have Dreamweaver. You've been up here for a while. Was there a question you wanted to ask?
Yes. First of all, congratulations on a great launch. Been a long time coming. The question I have a couple questions for you guys. The first one is metrics that you guys are looking at as a management team to measure the performance so far. And the second is, are there anyone in the sales staff there in terms of trying to make calls and getting some of the centralized exchanges and some of the DEXs to actually join the liquidity pool?
I think that's a good question. Jack or Rand, who wants to take this one?
I think
Okay.
it's
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
if it's relating to DEX, I'll turn it over to Rand.
It's again a two-part question, right? Sorry, I didn't actually understand the whole question.
The first question was, what are some of the metrics you're looking at
Metrics.
in terms of performance measurements? And the second question I had was, do we have anybody in sales staff there, or who's handling sales in terms of attracting DEXs and SEXs or SEX, centralized and decentralized exchanges, to join the liquidity pool?
Yeah, I think Rand can take that one because it's more directly related to BD.
Sure. We have quite a few metrics that we look at on a daily and weekly basis. We actually have a bunch of internal bots that shoot us metrics. So I mean, obvious ones are volume, number of users from the different segments, DeFi, institutional, and retail. So we're tracking that on a daily basis, and we do have performance targets, like Jack mentioned before. And although he can't say, it's many times what the current volume numbers are like, our goals for next year. In terms of sales staff, we do have a very international business development team, many of whom are from our community, from all parts of the world. And we are working actively to bring in more wallets, exchanges, OTC desks, large traders to use the platform. So I head up that effort on the business development side, and we're constantly BDing all types of users. And it's not a super difficult task to sign people up because of our core value proposition of zero fees, deep liquidity. It's just a matter of having that reach and influence. And then the marketing team is great at helping getting our brand, our name out there, content and such, and it just increases the overall awareness of the value that we're trying to bring to users around the world.
All right, thank you. Hopefully that answers your question. We have a few more people here who have requested and only a few minutes left. Michael, I've just invited you up on the stage. You've been sitting there for a while in the queue. Did you have any question for us? Looks like Michael's still connecting. What about Magesh? Magesh 0011. Maybe you can go ahead first. Are you there, Magesh? If not, we can jump ahead to Travis. Travis, what do you have for us?
Yeah, just a question on how you guys look at sponsorships compared to FTX. I'm based in the United States, but FTX is doing a big push for the United States. I know that regulatory market is difficult, but I'm just curious, like getting the name out. I think community, as you guys know, is the biggest thing, and I'm just curious if that's something you guys consider.
Jack, do you want to target this one? I think it's kind of related to our target user and what we're trying to accomplish. So maybe this is a good one for you to speak on.
Yeah, so FTX is, at a different stage than we are, right? They're a much more mature exchange, and they're targeting a much broader audience than we are, and they're making a very aggressive push into the U.S. to compete with Binance US and Coinbase, and so they're doing a lot of, but I don't. I don't think we're targeting the same user base. And so the kind of marketing strategy, sponsorship strategy is quite different. I think in the future, we do want to be able to service people globally, including the US. We're working on that. But even if we do, we're not trying to service like the mass, right? We're trying to focus really intensely on the target audience, right? And we want to do that first, and we want to do that well first.
That makes sense. Thank you.
All right, next one. We have PhD of nothing. Oh, I couldn't see the nothing part, and I thought it was going to be something really impressive. But PhD of nothing, you're up. What do you got for us?
Yeah, sorry. That's right. That's me. Just a quick question. And if I came a bit late, so I apologize if it was already answered. But I was just wondering, is the plan for Kronos, is it going to trade exclusively through Woo?
Ooh, you picked a great question for Jack because he loves to answer this one. So I'm going to let him take it.
No, the short answer, no, because Kronos, you can see it as an independent entity from Woo. And Kronos will trade wherever it can make money, right? And and Woo, the whole network is geared towards like non-HFT type traders, right? And Kronos makes most of its money from HFT strategies, like aggressive HFT strategies, and so it'll trade in other venues. Um, that's the short answer. Um, the longer, maybe detailed answer would include things like, yes, Kronos supports liquidity on WooTrade, and it's brought some of the strategies over to source liquidity and also hedge certain trades on WooX and WooTrade. So Kronos definitely contributes to the volume that you see on WooTrade. Um, but there's no plans, there's no grand plan to be like, yeah, WooTrade is going to bring, I mean, Kronos is going to bring all of its billions of dollars of volume to WooTrade only. Like, this is not the way that we really bring value to this world. Kronos, is basically trying to have the most predictive signals for very, very short-term trading, and it's going to apply that to decentralized venues, centralized venues globally. And then Woo Network is focused on something that's kind of different, but there's definitely synergies between the two.
Okay, that's that's exactly what I wanted to know. And just, I'm not sure if I understood correctly, but will the people with Woo have access correctly?
Yeah, not just Kronos, but we're gonna open this thing up to the whole ecosystem, right? So if you're a good trader, or if you're good at writing strategies, then the hope is we're going to create a very easy way for people to follow you. Well, first to recognize your abilities, right? To separate the people who are actually really good at what they do versus people who are very good at marketing themselves, but may not necessarily have the trading chops, and then allow people to very easily participate, right, in some way. Probably like the concept here is like eToro, but the execution will be very different. Um, I don't particularly like the eToro product set or features. Um, but in terms of like regulation, in terms of the concept, it's quite similar.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
All right, we got 1 minute here, and I think Rand's going to have to drop because I know he has got an important call coming up. But we have Jason and Magesh up here now. If you have anything, last questions for Jack, we might be able to squeeze it in.
Oh, hi guys. Yeah, thanks for doing this. I was just wondering what sort of portion of, with the recent KuCoin listing, do you guys have like estimates for what sort of volume you expect to be doing through KuCoin, or do you have certain targets, or is it a case of you're one of many liquidity providers to that, and then you just sort of take what you're given in terms of the volume coming through there?
Yeah, this sounds like a Rand question to me.
Rand, can you handle it?
KuCoin, it's tough to estimate, to be honest. So we don't know until it's live. So it's not live yet, but it probably will be soon. And I'm guessing it's at least a few $1 million a day, at the very least. So it can go much higher than that. But we honestly don't know until it's live.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks. And then I just quick follow up. In the long run, obviously with the 1800 Woo staking, as we all know, Woo tokens then become more scarce as we go on. In the very long run, though, in terms of years, obviously the 1800 Woo effectively puts a limit on the amount of users of the ecosystem. Do you envisage that system changing over time?
Jack, I think you could jump on this one.
Yeah, sure. If let's say Wu tokens, if the price is much higher than here and 1800 like doesn't even make sense, then we can definitely adjust that going forward. But for now, I think this price range is still okay, and it's still worth it for people to stake that amount and get the trading fees.
Okay, that makes sense. Thanks, Jack, and thanks, guys.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think the tokenomics are meant to be more exclusive, though, and competitive, right? Because a lot of the models that we had at the beginning, especially on the institutional side, are meant to be very competitive. Where if people would be encouraged to take part urgently rather than just kind of waiting around for the opportunity at a later time. I think we've got through almost everything here, and I'm sorry there's still a few people who requested. I do want to encourage everyone to join the Discord and the Telegram if they want to continue this conversation. Before we wrap up, Jack, do you have any last things you want to say to the community before we sign off?
Yeah, I mean, thank you everyone for supporting us for all of this time, and hopefully we can deliver the products and features that you really love. And if not, then please be vocal and tell us what we're messing up on, and we'll definitely take that to heart and make sure that our future iterations take that into consideration.
All right. Thanks a lot, everyone. And just a reminder, I know that someone has been reminding about the airdrop situation, and that for people who are forced to leave because of the KYC situation, the grandfather status has been snapshotted and frozen, so you will have that opportunity at a later date to come back. But other than that, again, I want to really thank everyone for joining this community call, and we'll do this again as soon as possible. Let's stay active and have a great day or great night, everyone. Good night.
Bye. Bye-bye.